Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 265 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. Always remember, for the latest weekly news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, WNBA, this is the podcast to be. Okay, we're going to start this off first and foremost. Your 2026 NBA Finals and your 2026 Stanley Cup Final winners. Your NBA championships this year are the New York Knicks. They beat the San Antonio Spurs in 5 games, and you know what? The New York Knicks, this season and in the playoffs, they just clicked. And the Knicks, I'm actually really happy for their fan base because they've been through a ton of misery since 1973. And they've missed the playoffs for so many years, made the finals in 1999 against the San Antonio Spurs. But then 2026, they actually beat the San Antonio Spurs to win their first championship since 1973. So, if we go each series, they beat the Atlanta Hawks in 6 games. Then they swept the Philadelphia 76ers and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then they beat the San Antonio Spurs in 5 games. Players like Jalen Brunson, who I would argue is a top 10 greatest New York Knicks player ever. OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Karl Anthony Towns, Mitchell Robinson, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Jackson, Landy Shamet. I could go on. Even Mikal Bridges. Everybody dominated and worked really hard all season long. And I'm extremely impressed with how they even rebounded after their Game 3 loss to the San Antonio Spurs. And hey, the Knicks are actually champions, and they were the better team. And Mike Brown, he deserves Coach of the Year awards because he really brought, ever since becoming head coach of the New York Knicks, he put them on a win-now mentality, and the Knicks won it all. And I was actually really impressed with their play style throughout the entire finals. Then, for the Stanley Cup Finals, the Carolina Hurricanes. They beat the Las Vegas Golden Knights in 6 games. In fact, they actually shut out the Golden Knights in Game 6 by winning 3-0. Then if we go by series, Carolina swept the Ottawa Senators. Then swept the Philadelphia Flyers. But then the Montreal Canadiens, they almost gave them a run for their money, but Carolina sent them to school in 5 games. And the Stanley Cup Finals, I'm not going to lie, the Las Vegas Golden Knights really scared the absolute you-know-what out of me, but Carolina came back and beat them in 6 games to win their first Stanley Cup since 2006. And the Conn Smythe for the Stanley Cup Finals goes to Jordan Staal of the Carolina Hurricanes, who recorded 8 goals, 4 assists for 12 points in the playoffs. Not gonna lie, even though he's the captain and he led the Hurricanes to their first Stanley Cup, I was actually surprised that Staal got picked Conn Smythe over Logan Stankoven, who scored the most goals out of the entire Hurricanes roster. Also, I was very shocked, even over Jackson Blake, who had 20 points in 19 games, and Taylor Hall was like a point per game in the playoffs. So that kind of shocked me. And the goaltending duo of Frederick Anderson and Brandon Bussey got the job done. And Hurricanes won. Let's go. So I was actually really entertained by both finals as a sports fan. And also, Jalen Brunson won the NBA Finals MVP, which he easily deserved it. I'm going to quickly say this for the Knicks' point of view. Jalen Brunson, ever since putting on a New York Knicks uniform, not only has he made a huge impact on this team, he has really changed the culture ever since coming to the New York Knicks. And now for the Hurricanes, I hope they get to keep most of the core together, because the core and the core the New York Knicks had, those two teams have potential chances to become a dynasty. Mark my words. All right. And also, the 2026 and 2025 New York Knicks champions, the 25-26 Knicks will go down as the greatest New York Knicks team to ever exist, even over the 1973 championship team. All right, we got a few signings to talk about and an injury. So, one hockey signing to talk about is Michael McCarron, I hope I said it right, signs a 6-year deal with the Minnesota Wild with an AAV of $3.3 million. Definitely a bit of an overpay by the Minnesota Wild. I mean, McCarron, okay, bottom six, who throws the body a lot. He's 31 years old. Cap has never surpassed $1 million, and he will now make over 3 times that. Ever since getting acquired to the Minnesota Wild in the trade deadline, he put up 5 points in 20 games and scored 4 points in 11 playoff games. And I'm not going to lie, as much as free agency this year still has the potential to become the absolute weakest, this is a huge, massive overpay from the Minnesota Wild. I'm honestly not impressed with this one, that I kind of have a feeling that McCarron could be bought out by the Wild in 3-4 years from now. That's just how bad it is. Let's go to the football signings while we are at it. Before we do that, congratulations to baseball legend and Toronto Blue Jays pitcher Max Scherzer. Reached a milestone this week of recording 3,500 strikeouts, and he is the 11th pitcher in Major League history to do that. And he also played against the Phillies over the weekend, and he's one of 2 active players to reach that mark, with the other being obviously Clayton Kershaw, who retired, and the other is Justin Verlander, who they were both teammates once upon a time with the Detroit Tigers. Now, and he's 800 strikeouts ahead of Chris Sale, who's the next active player to get 3,000 strikeouts. So, Max Scherzer, easily a Hall of Famer, World Series champion, easily a really solid pitcher, one of the best I've seen in my entire lifespan. All right, let's get to the football signings. So, Aaron Brewer, offensive center for the Miami Dolphins, has signed an extension. It's a 3-year, $52.5 million contract, and extension with $37 million guarantee. So, the Dolphins, whose last season did not go as well as they would have liked, but adding Brewer to the offensive line should be a big help. And the Miami Dolphins, depending how they do in the offseason, is going to be interesting, because if they make the good moves, they can make the playoffs. And right now, I think signing Aaron Brewer is a step in the right direction. So always feel free to let me know your thoughts on that. And the next one, so Patrick Mahomes does sign another extension with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I know what you're thinking. He already has a contract, Bill, man. What are you talking about? But his current deal is 10 years, $450 million. It was reworked in 2023 to move most of the money up toward the front end of the deal and force the two sides to revisit the contract before 2028. The extension he signed was 8 years, $504 million. Now, with this year, with the new arrangement, it's going to come out to either $63.1 million per year or $64 million per year when the new money kicks in next season. So in the end, that's Mahomes' contract extension. 8 years, $504.75 million. And Patrick Mahomes, phenomenal quarterback, top 15 greatest of all time, and maybe top 5. But Mahomes has proved how an elite quarterback he can be. Now, even though he is recovering and will not play until, I believe, later this season, he's still recovering from an ACL injury. And Mahomes, I'm curious to see how he'll do when he comes back. Will he be the Patrick Mahomes that he was before getting injured? Or could he be a different type of quarterback from maybe what we're used to seeing? So, Chief fans, I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. And you can all comment down below as well. And message me on Twitter at BillManSports and Instagram at BillManSportsGuy, because this contract extension and the way Kansas City constructed is actually really, really interesting. All right. We've got actually few more things to talk about. Let's go to the NHL again, because the Los Angeles Kings this past week, hired Peter Lavier to become their new head coach. So Peter Lavier, he's in his 7th different head coaching stint and a year after he was fired from the Rangers. Now, he did win a Stanley Cup, or he did get to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Hurricanes in 2006, and he reached the Stanley Cup with the Philadelphia Flyers in 2010 and the Nashville Predators in 2017. Now, Peter Lavier, I'm more curious to see how he's going to do with the Los Angeles Kings, and plus that also depends how they do in the offseason, because I think Peter Lavier, is he the true answer for the Kings? No, but I think he's just a fine coach at best. Now, we need to talk about baseball for 2 reasons. First and foremost, we have an injury report, and it is on Jose Ramirez of the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians put him on the IL. Now, with a fractured hamate bone. Now, the hamate bone, it's an injury that typically costs a player 1 to 2 months, 4 to 8 weeks. Now, it's a huge blow to the Cleveland Guardians, as they're going to be out with their franchise superstar and one of the best players to ever play in a Guardians uniform. And he's actually one of the best third basemen in all of baseball. Even though this season he has not had a really good year. Prior to getting hurt, Jose Ramirez was hitting .238 with 10 home runs, and his lowest on-base percentage at .340. He has struggled this season, ladies and gentlemen. Even though they're in a battle for first place with the Chicago White Sox. Jose Ramirez. Struggling. But the rest of the team, all over the place. Let's look at them really quick. So Jose Ramirez is hitting. He's played 72 games. He's hit 18 doubles, 10 home runs, 33 RBIs. He has stolen 24 bases, but he is hitting .239 with a .339 on base percentage, .418 slugging, a .757 OPS. Not bad, but not great in terms of Jose Ramirez status. If we look at OPS, the Guardians don't have one at 800 or above. In fact, hitting-wise, Daniel Sheeman, actually, not him. Sorry, wrong player. It's Angel Martinez. Because him and Jose Ramirez are the only 2 Guardians players this season to hit more than 10 home runs a season. Ramirez has 10. Martinez has 11. Now, if we go to the pitching, Gavin Williams, potential to be good, and he looks good. Tanner Bybee, hit or miss. Parker Messiak, looks great so far. Slade Ciccone, not good. Joey Cantilillo, not good. The bullpen is all over the place. Kate Smith is phenomenal. Matt Festa needs to figure it out. Colin Hoodman looks good. Tim Herron, so-so. So, with the Cleveland Guardians, I have to ask Guardians fans this. How are they going to do without Jose Ramirez? And will they even be able to hold first place in the American League Central? Now, another baseball team I actually want to talk about. The San Diego Padres. Because what the heck is going on with the Padres offense? If we go to team batting average, on-base percentage, OPS, all of that wonderful stuff, the Padres are dead last in every one of those categories. In fact, the Padres, now home run-wise, Manny Machado, hopefully he starts to heat up, but he's struggling. He is hitting 178 with a 620 OPS. Ty France, yikes. Gavin Sheets has 11 home runs. Good for him. In fact, it is so bad that Gavin Sheets, Ty France, and Miguel Andujar, prior to getting hurt, are the only regular Padre hitters that have played more than 30 games, have an OPS at 700 or above. Everyone else, bad OPS. Fernando Tatis Jr., 693, though he's kind of started been heating up a little bit lately, but he only has 2 home runs as we speak. Jackson Merrill, 615, yikes. Ramon Laureano, 660. Manny Machado, 620. Xander Bogaerts, 664. Jake Cronenworth, 468. Ty France, 772. Freddie Fermin, the catcher, 505. In fact, Machado and Sheets, only players to have more than 10 plus home runs. So they're not hitting the long ball. Pitching, outside of Michael King and Randy Vasquez, because they both have looked really good, everybody else has looked bad. The bullpen, Mason Miller, phenomenal. Best closer in baseball. Actually, him and Aroldis Chapman. Adrian Morin, yikes, not good. Wandy Peralta looks good. Same with Bradley Rodriguez. Mercado, fine. Yuki Matsui looks amazing. David Morgan, to even name another reliever, struggling. So, I gotta ask this, Padre fans, what is happening to your team? Because pitching is kind of hanging in there, but hitting, not struggling really bad. And the Padres right now sit at a record of 36-33 for second place in the NL West, to nobody's surprise, the Los Angeles Dodgers. So, Padre fans, what needs to be changed for the Padres to start hitting the baseball and for the pitching to look really good? Do they need a new coaching staff? The players obviously need to be better. But let's say if the Padres struggle, do you guys buy or do you guys sell? And do the Padres maybe try again in 2027? I'm curious to know your thoughts and opinions. And that will be all for today's episode of Bill Man the Sports Guy. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. Always remember, for the latest weekly news of the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, college sports, WNBA, this is the podcast to be. I hope you all had a good week. Stay tuned for episode number 266 as we count down the march to 300. Peace.